Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. This is a warning of sorts. The VA has now published new changes to the Federal Register. There is a window of opportunity to provide any comments. I wanted to dive into it. If you missed the first video on this, I'm going to front load this with a basic overview from a law firm that I found and then give you a little more information from the Federal Register. So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. I really do appreciate all of you members. It's a great way to support the channel, and it helps me to find you quicker in the comments. Before we roll into this, I want to throw on a quick thank you for a super comment from Greg Shepard 6082. Greg Shepard, thank you so very much. I truly, truly appreciate your support, and I'll be responding to your comment here shortly. Thank you again for your support. I appreciate it. All right, so the Federal Register, again, has now a new change proposed by the VA, and this will be affecting the schedule of ratings for disabilities, neurological conditions, and convulsive disorders. Sounds like a party. Now, jumping into a kind of an overview here, I'm going to go through this, front load this for you here. So, understanding the VA's proposed updates to disability ratings for neurological conditions, the Department of Veterans Affairs is proposing significant updates to the schedule for rating disabilities for neurological conditions and convulsive disorders. These changes, which reflect the latest advancements in medical understanding, are designed to improve the clarity and consistency of disability ratings for veterans suffering from various neurological impairments. Here's what veterans and their advocates need to know about the VA's proposed changes and how they can impact future disability claims. Now, why are these changes being made? The VA's rating system for neurological conditions has long relied on terminology and evaluation criteria that over time has become outdated. Many current diagnostic codes and definitions do not fully reflect the way the medical science now understands these conditions. For example, terms like neuritis are being phased out in favor of neuropathy, a term that more accurately describes nerve disorders today. The proposed updates aim to replace subjective and sometimes inconsistent ratings with objective measurable criteria that better represent the real-world impacts of these disabilities. Key updates to terminology and evaluation standards. The proposed changes cover a range of neurological conditions from movement disorders like Parkinson's disease to motor neuron diseases like primary lateral sclerosis. Here are some of the most significant updates. New diagnostic codes. The VA is adding codes for conditions previously evaluated separately using different... So the way that this works, just to explain it, a good example of this would be the VA can take a condition, let's say GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Okay, that diagnosis of GERD, okay, used to not have a diagnostic code at all, and they would rate it against hiatal hernia. However, there was a change that took place this year, 2024, that gave GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, its own diagnostic code. However, there's no rating schedule underneath it. There's no real rating. Instead, what it says is if you have GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, rate it under esophageal stricter diagnostic code, and there it lays out the schedule of rating for that specific condition. So that's how they do that. So what they're saying here is that's how they used to do it, and now what they're going to do is add diagnostic codes and potentially some ratings as well. So these additions allow for more precise evaluations and are designed to help veterans receive consistent ratings for their distinct conditions. Objective muscle strength grades for motor impairments. The VA will use the Medical Research Council scale for muscle strength, which grades muscle function from 0, no movement, to 5, normal strength. The grading system brings objectivity to ratings, especially for conditions affecting motor control. Sensory neuropathy criteria, sensory impairments will now be evaluated based on either their complete or incomplete sensory deprivation, which is easier to measure and more specific to the sensory impact of nerve damage. If you think you're going to be under any of this stuff with regard to neurological, you'll want to check out the ratings or the proposal in the Federal Register. And also keep in mind that you can publish any comments from the public can be submitted. Comments from the public can be submitted up until January 13th, 2025. Okay, that's an important deadline. Jumping back into this, how conditions will be rated under the proposed general rating formula. The VA is introducing a general rating formula, GRF, for certain neurological conditions, including Parkinson's disease, essential tremor, and dystonia. The GRF outlines disability levels from 0 to 100%, with each level defined by functional impairments. 100% rating, inability to live independently due to neurological impairments. 60% rating, daily use of assistive devices for mobility, such as wheelchairs or walkers. 30% rating, intermittent need for assistive devices. 10% rating, minor functional impairments in specific areas like speech or balance. The structured formula helps create consistency in how these conditions are rated, ultimately providing veterans with fair and predictable evaluations. New ratings for commonly misdiagnosed or complex conditions. The VA is also addressing challenges in rating conditions that are commonly misdiagnosed or overlap with other disorders. The diagnostic code for conditions like Parkinson's plus, essential tremor, and dystonia mean that veterans can receive ratings that more accurately reflect their specific disabilities. This is especially important for complex movement disorders where symptoms can be mistaken for one another, as these new codes provide distinct categories for conditions with overlapping symptoms but differing prognosis and treatment outcomes. What these changes mean for veterans. These proposed updates bring some advantages as well as potential challenges for veterans and their advocates. More consistent ratings. More consistent ratings. The use of objective criteria like muscle strength grades minimizes subjective interpretation, which has previously led to rating inconsistencies. Veterans will now have more predictable path for receiving accurate ratings. Reduced ratings for sensory-only nerve damage. Certain peripheral nerves, such as the saphenous and lateral cutaneous nerves, I don't know. I missed those days in school. Are now categorized as purely sensory, which will likely result in lower ratings. Veterans experiencing numbness or tingling without motor impairment might find it harder to qualify for compensable ratings. Streamlined diagnostic codes. Conditions like stroke, which were previously divided into different types based on medical terminology, are now consolidated into a single code. This change simplifies the claim process and enhances the accuracy of ratings for post-stroke residuals. Moving on, preparing for the impact of these changes. So for veterans currently receiving disability benefits, these updates may not affect existing ratings immediately. However, new claims or reevaluations could be subject to the updated criteria once they are officially enacted. Veterans should ensure that their medical records reflect objective measures of impairment, such as muscle strength testing or sensory loss, to support claims under the new criteria. Key takeaways for veterans and advocates. These proposed changes will mark a significant shift in how the VA approaches disability ratings for neurological conditions. Veterans and their advocates should take note of the new diagnostic codes, terminology updates, and objective evaluation standards. While these changes are intended to improve fairness and consistency, some veterans, particularly those with sensory-only impairments, may see adjustments in their ratings. Now, how do you combat any of that stuff? I've done videos on proposed rating reductions. I've talked about making sure that you have evidence. If for some reason you're going to be filing for anything, I highly, highly suggest making sure that if you need a Nexus letter or if you need a DBQ completed, what are those two things for? Nexus letters to get your service connection, while DBQ is to get the appropriate rating. Those two things are both important. You can utilize AME. I'll put their link in the description and in the comments for you. They have a free consultation, so get the information for free, figure out if that's the right way to move. Also, Veteran AI is also a great resource for you. They will utilize the powers of AI, and they have created a tool that will help you pull all the information from all the different facets to help you develop great buddy statements, your own personal statements, and even help to provide information for a Nexus letter to your doctor for their review. Moving on, to prepare, veterans can seek comprehensive medical evaluations, ensure that all aspects of the neurological impairments, including motor and sensory issues, are thoroughly documented. Understand the new diagnostic codes. Familiarize yourself with the updated list of diagnostic codes, especially if you're experiencing a condition like essential tremor, which now will have its own code. Consult with an experienced advocate. That's important. Accredited reps are very important, a second set of eyes, and they can also peek into the VA system for you. Working with knowledgeable VA accredited representatives can help veterans understand how these changes apply to their individual cases and ensure they receive the most accurate and fair evaluations under the new rules. Conclusion: the VA's proposed updates to the disability rating schedule for neurological conditions are a welcome step toward a modernized medical accurate system that reflects the latest understanding of neurological impairments by making evaluations more objective and condition specific. The VA aims to reduce inconsistencies and streamline the rating process. However, it's essential for veterans and their advocates to stay informed and proactive in adapting to these changes to ensure fair compensation for service-connected disabilities, and I completely agree. For more guidance on how these changes may affect your VA disability claim, reach out again to an accredited representative, and they can help you navigate that. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much to all you subscribers, everybody who watches, all the thumbs up, all of that matters. We're a snowball just growing, right? And getting bigger and bigger. And we really do owe it to ourselves, right? It's all of us that have done it. Many hands make light work. And I appreciate all of your support. Remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.